hello there. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how we'll start this episode off. If you haven't seen episode 6, Obi-Wan, Loud Thumbs Limited Podcast, we are back. Hello there is used to, I would say, a perfect tone. It fits throughout. Obi-Wan's pretty much, well, from beginning to end, honestly.
Yes.
It's a pretty neat little deal. This episode, completely Obi-Wan and Vader, or Obi-Wan and Anakin, whichever way you want to put it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much this whole episode.
Yes.
Like we did talk about it in the last episode, at least I made the mention that I thought they would do a back and forth between Luke and Leia, and they did a little bit.
It was nice to see that.
That was kind of nice, but they didn't do the close proximity thing that I was hoping for. That was something I did mention.
Yeah.
I thought would be kind of neat.
Thought it would be like, star-crossed.
Yeah. Instead, it was more of a introduction to Obi-Wan and Luke's potential history.
Yes.
Which I still think from A New Hope, there's not a whole lot of history between the two of them.
No, I'm pretty sure Obi-Wan after this, before A New Hope, was just laying low.
Yeah.
Like he was
living
there
in his cave.
if he needed to be, needed help, he was there, but he wasn't making his presence known.
Yeah. But it was kind of nice with the scene, and we're going to kind of skip around on this one a little bit, I think. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of the main sense of the episode, but it was kind of nice to see Obi-Wan kind of get invited in by Owen. Like,
yes.
You want to meet him,
you
right?
Want to meet him? Yes.
We're kind of doing the episode backwards because that all happened at the end.
It's okay.
But who cares? Because
right.
that's where we start.
We do how we want to do.
That's right. We do us.
We do us.
And I like that, though, because I didn't expect it. I expected it to be just kind of left to your thoughts of how was he introduced? How did that happen? You get to, and then that would have been a potential season 2 thing, which is only a rumor right now. There's not a for sure season 2.
Which I would totally be okay if there's not a season 2. I don't think there needs to be a season 2.
Yes.
Now, if they put one out, will I watch it? Hell yes, I will watch it.
Yeah. It's going to be hard to beat.
Yeah. But you don't need it. Like, I feel like this is a good wrapping up point, and it makes me want to go and start A New Hope and watch that trilogy again.
Yeah. I almost did that yesterday. Instead.
Yeah, I almost mentioned it.
Almost did that. And I was like, nah, you know what? I think I'll watch something else, because then it'll be like midnight by the time I go to bed.
Yeah, I was like, it's kind of late to start some movies. Maybe we'll do that this weekend or something.
Yeah. So instead, I just picked up Kick-Ass halfway in where I fell asleep.
Yes.
A bedtime movie. But I enjoyed this one quite a bit. I'd like to finally to get the culmination episode, which we all knew was going to happen. You're going to have you're going to have Obi-Wan and Anakin going at each other. And the little pepperage of Reva going on was all right. I know the consensus on the internet is like, she wasn't even needed. They could have cut her out completely and kept the episodes, and it was still mattered and all that kind of stuff. They're not wrong.
They're not, but at the same time,
it's an opinion, right?
Yeah, it's an opinion. And at the same time, she kind of set up for Owen introducing Obi-Wan to Luke. Like,
in a way,
she basically put Luke in danger. And, Obi-Wan, he comes back in the nick of time. And
well, he didn't save her, though. He didn't, or save Luke. He didn't save Luke. It was just, he showed up to realize that she's turning into the light side of the Force, and she's not totally evil. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think her doing that to Luke made Owen realize, like, hey, we probably should have him,
Involved. Okay.
Yeah.
You're losing your words.
I am. I was going to say, like, part of his life, but he wasn't really part of his life, but
no, just to be known that he's around, so that he's not like a total stranger like it was to Leia,
right?
Kind of thing, maybe. Yeah, there could have been some sort of thought process put behind that, but I do kind of agree. But what I agree with is that, like, Reva could have been pulled out of the thing, but I'm going to say the one reason why I'm glad she stayed, and that was what I talked about last episode, and that is her character allowed us to see how smart Vader is. Like, he's using all of these people and just to his advantage, because they're all evil. Like that. I mean, they're dumb. Like that. Yeah. The way I'm looking at it is like, they're not as smart as the light side of the Force. So for him to be able to show his smarts and be able to dupe, all the other people that are on the, dark side of the Force.
Mhm.
I kind of like that because I think it kind of builds Vader's character of
How
like
he uses
more
everyone as
menacing.
pawns.
Yeah. And it's like, what is he doing in the background? I mean, we've seen video games like Force Unleashed and stuff where that character in the game is you're being, taught by Vader. You learn like all these things, like small spoilers for the games, but Vader's in those games and you're like, holy shit, he had a Sith apprentice, underneath him that he was teaching. And at one point he was thinking of like, toppling the Emperor. Like, so just all of those things that he has going on. It was just one more little thing with Reva in this show that showed him being able to still do and predict and manipulate in a way that made sense for Vader. It was nowhere near, the way that Obi-Wan can manipulate Anakin, which was really cool. That was way cooler. But I did like Reva's character for that reason. And I think it would be cool to see her have her own show and it be kind of role reverse where she's the primary and maybe Obi-Wan comes in kind of training moments somehow, like where they cross paths. Because as far as we know, she's still on Tatooine.
Right. They didn't say she left. Never showed her leaving.
Yeah, they never did a like goodbye scene or anything like that. It was just, I'm as evil as him now, basically. And Obi-Wan's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
No, I've become him. She says, nope. No, you haven't.
No, you have not.
And she did almost kill Luke in that one particular spot. Here he falls down the rocks or whatever.
Yeah.
And she kept having that flashback, seeing herself as Luke and then actually seeing Luke as her as a youngling and seeing herself as Vader or Anakin.
Yeah.
Killing all the younglings.
She kind of realized, wait, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. That's where she made the decision. Like, oh, nope, I couldn't do it. And then she carries him back home basically. But that was kind of a neat thing to see, at least to end on. Definitely ended on a good note. But the bigger aspect of the whole episode was Vader versus Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really Anakin versus Obi-Wan, which we find that out as we watch. And I think I liked the fact that it was just a quiet fight. There's not a bunch of banter going on. There's not a bunch of bullshit, being said. And it was just
them fighting. Like, it wasn't
mano
like,
a mano.
I'm going to get you or anything. You know what I mean? They were both just like on a mission. Like, I'm going to kick the other guy's butt. And
yeah, it was just very one-on-one. There wasn't a bunch of stuff like involved or other people or, things around them that were like distractions, like what we saw in Revenge of the Sith. There's all that the lava and all this other shit, and they're jumping from one thing to another thing, and then these things are all in the way. And as good as that fight could be, it's just like it didn't really feel one-on-one. It felt like a way to like just show more acrobatics shit that a Jedi could do. And I just want to see them just down and dirty.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And they
just
were down and dirty.
That's what was really nice about this.
They were throwing rocks and pillars at each other, and
yeah, it was pretty awesome. The whole back and forth happening. Obviously the episode does start off with them chasing they're chasing Obi-Wan in the small ship that the rebels got away with, the one that Vader couldn't catch with the Force. And it was very reminiscent of A New Hope.
Yes.
Starting off, this one was just a little different where it started off and came above the ship. On New Hope, the camera pans below the ship. So you see the starfighter or the Star Destroyer just trying to take out the small little ship. I'm like, oh, I said that. Like, this looks familiar.
This looks familiar. I'm like, yes, it does.
So they definitely give you that feeling of right away. Like you could just go right into New Hope and you'd be like, this is just what happened. Like, this is like, the Obi-Wan thing. But at this time, he's coming for Leia, obviously, in A New Hope. So Obi-Wan does the thing again, says he only wants me. I'm out. I'm leaving. And
get Leia home safe. I'm out.
And Leia wasn't happy about that.
Oh, no, she wasn't.
Can't just leave me here, But Obi-Wan knew the right thing to do. Otherwise, everybody was dead because he wasn't going to give up until he got Obi-Wan. And it worked exactly the way he expected. We knew it was going to work again, obviously, because of how he's manipulated Vader into so many points that we knew, obviously he's going to follow him. He's like, Obi-Wan's what matters.
Yep. Obi-Wan's the only thing that matters.
And then they land on the planet that's there and they just start fighting. Just saber to saber. and it was awesome. Like it kind of felt like a short episode, but it felt like there was like a lot that happened in the episode. So it was just the whole fact of them coming to terms with each other. Like, you know,
and Obi-Wan finally accepting that his friend Anakin is truly gone.
Yeah.
Like he no longer exists.
Right.
Like they're fighting, and at one point Vader buries Obi-Wan.
Right, in the rubble.
In the rubble. And you're like, okay. And you know, of course, we both expected him to like magically pop out again, but
yeah.
Then they cut away to a different scene, which was with
what?
When they cut away. Because he was buried, and you're like, oh, I was hoping he'd come out, and then they cut away.
Yeah, they kept cutting back to Reva, and then they would cut back to Leia getting dressed and things like that. Happened later, but I'm pretty sure that one was back to Reva, looking for the boy. I'm looking for Obi-Wan, or no, I'm looking for
a farmer named Owen.
Yeah, I think that was the cut we got then, and then we're like, oh shit.
Yep.
You know,
like, oh,
I guess this is important as well. We need to know about this. I really didn't want the cut though. I wanted them to just stay on them rocks a little longer and then let happen what happened. Because it was kind of cool. Like it really did show. I mean, obviously there's a huge fight that happens before he gets buried. I mean, it's just saber on saber. And like, I mean, they're mano a mano and they're both equally matching each other. So like, you know, I mean, he's force pushing Vader into walls and all kinds of things.
He does tell Obi-Wan though that he's still weak.
Oh, you mean Vader tells Obi-Wan he's weak? Yeah.
He says your strength hasn't yet returned.
No, he says his strength has returned.
Oh, but you are still weak. That's what he says.
Right, because he thinks he's the badass. Like, you know, that's still like those little pieces as this episode or this whole series finished was like those little things now stick from that one-on-one saber fight where they did the flashback to Attack of the Clones. That fight now is going to stick in my head any time that you now watch Vader in the flash forwards or any of the other episodes or movies. Is just going to be him just an arrogant ass. Like he's just arrogant. Like he's not actually as powerful as he thinks he is. He is powerful, but he's not more powerful like he thinks he is. And like the way he tells everybody, he could still be one-upped and trumped. And so all those times now I'm going to think that like, it's like, oh, you know, like choking the guys out and stuff, you know, and part, you know, episode 4. It's just like A New Hope, I guess. That's convoluted. It's been so annoying talking about this because it's like the show is called Parts and then the episodes are called episodes and the movies are called episodes and everything has a subtitle. So, but it was just, now I think about it all the time. I just think about him, you know, like I've beat you, master. And, you know, you have to submit now. And all these things he was telling him in that fight. And then that happens again in this fight where he's like, you know, your strength has come back, but you're still weak. It's just one of that you can hear it in Anakin's voice, but you're still weak, you know? Yeah. And I'm like, oh man. And it makes you want him to get you want his ass kicked even more. Like,
yeah, you're like, just come on, Obi-Wan.
Yeah, that it's just like any little punk that you know of that like talks like they're tough and then gets it handed to him. You're like, yeah, you deserved it, you know?
Yeah.
And that just adds to the fun a little bit, I think, watching him. But yeah, then, you know, he does get buried, obviously, because at that point is where he breaks like the giant pillar of rock and breaks it over because they're on some crazy rock planet. It's just a bunch of rock structures all over that they get into. But he breaks it and tries to crush Vader with it, and Vader stops it, and he's still pushing it. And then it starts to kind of fall apart or whatever. And then they get into a fight, and then he breaks the whole ground. Like he puts his hand on the ground, and then like the ground spider webs, and then he just falls into this cavern. And then he just starts throwing the pillars of rock down at him and buries Obi-Wan and just walks away.
Yeah.
Like he's just
like, oh, I beat him.
Just like a normal bad guy does, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe I should like make sure he's dead. You know, it's that bad guy trope that everybody does. You know what I mean? Just like a bad guy, you know, oh, the enemy monologue. He's telling me the enemy monologue. We know what he's doing. The bad guy monologue's happening. Well, Vader just walks away and doesn't double, you know.
No.
He doesn't double check. He doesn't do the, you know, zombie land, you know,
double tap.
No. Yeah. You got to follow the rules and nope. And then it was kind of neat though, to see what really powers a Jedi. and their powers more. And that was when they do show Obi-Wan after they cut away to Reva and cut back, they got into the rocks, and you see he's created like a void around himself with the Force. So all the rock are there and they're still falling on him, but he's holding them all away from him just enough to survive. And he's getting all these negative flashbacks of, you know, I hate you from you know, Anakin, and like, you know, you took her from me, and you blamed her. All these quick things and all these words and dialogue are happening, and quick flashes of movie, you know, clips are happening, and it's all negative and it's all bad, and the rocks start to fall in on him.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay. And then he instantly just thought of Leia, and he thought of Luke, but it was mostly Leia. And then like all the connections he had with her, and then, you know, her holding his hand and like, you know, hugging him and these little things. So it was just like
positivity.
Yeah. It was like he saw his failure in Anakin, and that just started to drain him of the Force. But then he remembered that he's not a failure. He has this little girl, and he's got to protect her, and he's got to be around for her. I'm sure that is supposed to be things worth thinking he's thinking, you know what I mean?
Like he's got these 2 kids that he's promised to look after and take care of, and he needs to be there in order to do that, because, you know, if Vader finds out who they are, they're done.
Exactly. And yeah, as he gets that rush, you know, he gets that power back, and like he starts to move all the rocks away, and he gets himself out and just does this cool little Jedi climb up, you know, like it was effortless, more or less, you know, does a quick jump out of the rocks, does a couple jumps, and he's up. And then, Vader walking away, and you just see him walking right at the camera, and it's just like, yep, we know what's going to happen.
Yep.
And then he sensed it, and he just immediately turns around and blocks Obi-Wan from swinging. And then they go at it more, and this time it's the other way around. Like he doesn't get it handed to him.
Nope. Obi-Wan is kicking his butt.
He's just picking up like random bowlers from all over the place and like chucking them at him, and all these. I mean, he's taking them too. Like Vader's getting hit by all of these things, and he's not stopping them of any kind.
They were both holding their own. Like obviously Vader was holding his own against Obi-Wan till Obi-Wan got a good hit on the controls, like his panel, and then you could just see like, oh, keep hitting that, and he did. He just kept hitting that.
Yeah, because he kind of beat him down with the rocks some. And then they started fighting again. And then you could tell Obi-Wan didn't want to kill him.
Right.
Like, he had so many chances he could have. But you could tell he didn't want to, because he starts flipping his saber over, and he's using, you know, the blunt end of his saber now. The saber's still open, but he's just hitting him with the handle on the opposite end in his control panel, knowing like that's his life force.
Yeah.
Like without that, he can't survive, you know? And, you know, that's another thing to A New Hope, where he says, you know, he's more machine than man now, and things like that. And yeah, it was just, okay, he's letting him have it. He's letting him have it. And then he gets that last swing on him, and like just right down his helmet. And then you see Anakin inside, and there really is Hayden Christensen, you know, in there. And he's just, he can't breathe, and like the breathing has changed now, and like he's still trying to be mouthy.
Think of the voice combination.
Yeah, I thought it was neat.
I loved it. Yeah. Like when he's trying to talk, you can hear James Earl Jones as Vader, but you also hear Hayden Christensen as Anakin, like kind of melded together. And I was like, this is so awesome.
Yeah, and it didn't happen all the time. So
right.
It was like moments of like crossover where it was just kind of robotic. And it was nobody's voice. It was just a weird robotic thing. And then you would hear him say, you know, Obi-Wan, like in a Vader voice. And then he would say other things in just Hayden, you know, Anakin's voice. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was pretty well done. That kind of stuff's not easy to do either. And it's symbolic as well. You know, and I've read enough things since yesterday when we watched it, but yeah, it was definitely symbolic to the point where you could tell it was like, okay, Anakin is dying. This is the point where you all find out essentially Anakin's dead.
Yep.
Like Anakin admits to Obi-Wan, like, you didn't kill me. Like you don't have to regret, you know, killing me. You didn't fail me. I did. And essentially, yeah, Vader killed Anakin.
Yep.
And then that's where we get the whole line from also A New Hope. So it was really cool to see them weave in, you know, audio or, you know, just dialogue.
Yeah.
That made sense in part 1 or part 4 episode, A New Hope.
A New Hope.
You know, let's call it the 1976, Star Wars.
The
whatever.
first original Star Wars.
But yeah, it's just, I liked it a lot. I liked how they weaved in a bunch of things that you can now watch in these other movies and go, oh, yes, that's awesome. That's great. I love it. I love it. I love it. And that was a big one because, yeah, he does say that later, Vader killed your father.
Yep.
Now we know like where all that came from. And yeah, the only thing Obi-Wan can say back to him after that is like, well, then my friend truly is dead. And then it's just like, fight's over. I'm out of here.
He's like, I'm leaving.
Yep.
I'm gonna go make sure everybody got home safe.
Because you can tell, I think maybe not everybody could, but like my takeaway from that was that Obi-Wan was hoping to get Anakin back. Like he didn't want to kill him, obviously. He wanted to save him. Like, that's what he still wants to do.
I feel like he felt like there was still part of Anakin that could be saved.
Right.
Until he tells him,
yep.
No, you didn't kill me. Vader did.
Right.
You're like, oh.
And it takes
he's gone
30-ish more years now before Luke finds that piece of him that he can bring back. And it took his kids to do that. So which is very symbolic as well. His part of Padme was still alive, and there's all these. I think that's pretty cool to theorize about and think about. Knowing what we know now, obviously from Revenge of the Sith, and then now through watching this into A New Hope, it's like, why couldn't Obi-Wan turn him good again? Why did he fail at it, but Luke succeeded? And it's like, it makes sense.
Yeah. Your kids.
Yeah, your kids are
out of you.
Right. And the woman you love that you lost, you still have part of her. I think that's huge. It's very symbolic.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
I agree.
And I don't think a lot of people think that far ahead.
No,
but I do. Like I thought it was just a really neat thing to think about, because that's what Obi-Wan was trying to do. He was trying to save Anakin again.
His friend.
He thought he had another chance. Like he's going to take it. Like that was the point. Like he wants to stop Vader. So the only way to stop Vader is to bring Anakin back, right?
Yep.
And
not possible.
And like A New Hope, like I don't know all of the Star Wars lore and theories and backstory, but I'm pretty sure that Star Wars came out and it was Star Wars. That was it. There was no episode 4. There was no A New Hope when it released. All of that stuff got added later. Okay. Now, I don't know when all that happened, because I was a late bloomer to Star Wars. I didn't really get into Star Wars until I was in my late teens. So I've only been watching Star Wars stuff for like 20 years. Some people have been watching their whole lives, and they're 70 years old. But I think that A New Hope, it just has so many meanings, like there was A New Hope for new Jedi, because, Luke and Leia, and there's A New Hope for, Anakin, that you find out as it goes through. There's A New Hope for Vader. Like there's something there that can bring him back. And, there's a hope there for Obi-Wan, there's all these hopes that, could happen. Obviously hopes that the rebels defeat the Empire and so on and so forth. But I don't think that's just a one note thing.
No, I don't think so either. And generally it's not. Like movie titles a lot of times are deeper than you think.
Right. Exactly. Because and what I mean, like, I guess I could constrain. What do I want to say? Like I could just explain further, I guess. Can't think of a fancy word to use there.
Either.
But elaborate, right?
There we go. Elaborate.
Somewhat of a vocabulary I have. But he lost hope. Obi-Wan lost hope in bringing Anakin back. So that also could be that whole A New Hope. Like, he gave up. He gave up hope. Like Anakin's dead. And we know that, the 4, 5, and 6 are all Luke's story, really. Luke and Leia.
Yeah.
So there's obviously a lot of things going on in there as well. But I just liked how many little tiny things weaved in. And then in the final episode, there's still more of them. And then they all kind of connect to the next one, which goes back to what we said at the beginning.
Yep.
I don't think we need a season 2.
No.
Like, I really liked this. It feels like a 4-ish hour movie, right? I mean,
Yeah. And
some episodes
everything-
were shorter than an hour, you know, some of them were right about an hour. I think episode 2 was an hour, maybe. One of them anyway
Yeah.
was about an hour.
And I think everything is so cohesive.
Mhm.
Like, why rock the boat more?
Yeah. So
like-
you would agree, you say you don't want.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know I needed Obi-Wan, but now I'm glad I have Obi-Wan.
Yeah, because it fits so good.
It does.
Like, and it's
Like,
not a
it
long
ties
watch.
so much stuff together, and it's not a long watch. And it was just so good.
Yeah.
Like, on a bunch of levels. Like, it was good, but it was also like warm and fuzzy feeling at times, and
Mhm.
you know, showed you what the light side can do.
Right, exactly. And you know, it did what I think we talked about pretty early on, episode 1 and 2, when they played them both back to back, was we're gonna get a Leia story out of this. We got a Leia story out of
Mhm.
this. And
I love her.
yeah, it just makes you
I
like
mean,
her
I've
character
always
more.
loved her. Yeah, it just makes me like her character more.
Yeah. And that's what I enjoyed that quite a bit. That was probably the second thing I liked the most, other than just kind of the little like weave in little deals.
hmm
But I like the thought of Leia being like that right from the get-go, like
Mhm.
being that little girl that knows right from wrong, stands her ground, all that.
Padme's daughter.
Yeah, I like
you
that
can
so
see
much.
it out the gate.
Yeah.
And there was a really nice piece at the end
Yep.
when Obi-Wan comes back to Alderaan and sees
She's like, well, who is it? More
Well,
cousins?
Who is it? More cousins? Like, she's actually being like good.
Yeah.
She got ready and didn't fight with her mom about it.
But she did put on the holster.
She did put on the holster though, which
Is
I'm
that a
like,
holster?
yeah. And
I
she's like,
love
yeah.
it.
I love it. Where, you know, the door opens to the ship and Obi-Wan steps out and you just see Leia smile and
Yep.
she's so happy.
But the first thing she says is Lola.
And then Lola comes out and she's like, Lola, and takes off running to
I
her droid.
couldn't keep a little girl away from her droid.
Yeah. And, you know, her and Obi-Wan have this nice moment together and he tells her, you know, you wanted to know about your mother. And he basically tells her, you know, all of the qualities.
Parents.
Parents.
You want to know about your parents.
And he tells her, you know, these are things you got from your mother. And then flips the coin and says, these are things you got from your father.
Yep.
You know, and he says, I wish I could tell you more. And she's like, that's okay. Like, she looks, you know, over at her parents, adopted parents, and realizes that you can tell that she's like, okay, she's serious about it now. She's going to make changes. And this is the Leia that we know.
Right, exactly. And yeah, I like that scene a lot too, because they did explain Padme really well. You know, they were just talking perfectly about her character. And then obviously, you know, the passion was one he used for Anakin. I remember that because that's me a lot. I get that word thrown at me a lot. But yeah, like honest and, you know, true and things like that was from Padme. And I was like, okay, that's really nice. Like she then is aware. We already knew she was adopted, but like now she knows, oh, she's got more, you know, detail from who her parents were. And he's not going to go into detail of who they were.
No.
But it was really nice for him to give her a little bit of something. And then he tells Organa, you know, the senator, her dad, that oh, if you need anything else, you know where to find me. And I'm like, okay, that can be in a season 2 thingy. They could, you know, they left little, you know, breadcrumbs if they wanted.
They can't do too much because, I mean, unless they want to throw everything out the window, because Leia didn't really know Obi-Wan in A New Hope.
Well, she did.
I mean, she did, but it wasn't like they were super close.
No, but see, they don't have to do that now. They don't have to do any more with Luke and Leia now.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
Okay, yeah. It could just be stories of like Obi-Wan's adventures.
Right. That's why I think it'd be cool to see like an Obi-Wan Reva sort of thing.
Yeah.
Even if the show was called, you know, The Third Sister or called The Reva or whatever they want to call it. It would be kind of neat to see if he was able to like train her fully through and have his first full like, oh, she's, you know, good, you know, like he turned her from being this dark whatever to a really good Jedi kind of thing. Don't know. I mean, they can do all kinds of stuff with Star Wars, obviously. I don't think they need to, so I don't think I need to think about it too long. I think it would be, like I said earlier, it'd be super hard to beat this season in any form, because this fed perfectly into a like watch in between these two things. Watch between Revenge of the Sith and New Hope.
It's like,
and you're gonna be
you have
so
this
happy.
crater, and then this nice, perfect bridge was just put between them.
Yep. And if you want to find or look or anything in the crater, Clone Wars and all these other things that took place as well, go check them out. Star Wars Rebels is also in there, another one that has Obi-Wan and Vader stuff in it. But
we did see the Emperor too in this episode.
We did, yes. I was going to talk about the ending. So the very, very clear ending, because I got another thing I really, really wanted. Talked about it very, very early on. But yes, we'll talk about the Emperor first. And that was cool because it goes all the way back to his lava planet. Vader is on, and he's just sitting there explaining that he's done, with Obi-Wan and, all these things or whatever. And he tells him that he thinks that it's weakened him, basically.
Yeah.
Like the Emperor's like, I believe your connection to your old master has weakened you, and so on and so forth. And he's like, he means nothing to me.
Yeah. And then you're like, okay.
I only serve for one.
And you're like,
master.
Pull those puppet strings on Vader.
Yeah.
And then we get the Imperial March.
Yep. We get the dun dun.
I was like,
dun. I was like, oh, there it is. And it's just this badass scene of him sitting on his throne, and then his camera pans away.
Yep.
I really liked that scene a lot. I thought it was really sweet. And then after that, that's when we get the little Luke deal where he talked about where he meets Obi-Wan and so on. And then after that, Obi-Wan just kind of treks away. He's decided to move out of his cave because obviously people know he's there now, right? So he's probably going to relocate, and he's just trekking on his little camel weird thing.
Right?
I
don't know what you want to call it.
It's an alien camel, I guess, because it's what we would use as a camel in I don't know, on Earth. But yeah, as he's kind of walking away, and then all of a sudden, like in the distance, you just see this little thing, this image just appear, and I was like, "That's Qui-Gon!" Yes,
you're like,
and they forced Ghost Qui-Gon in there, and he was like, it's about time you showed up.
It took you long enough.
Yeah. And he's like, well, it just wasn't ready to see me yet. So obviously now he's ready. So that was neat to see that next level of Obi-Wan. Like he got into that Jedi side of it, and he was focused. He knew his path, and everything connected. So all the Force came together, and then it was essentially like, well, let's go. We got a long journey ahead.
Yep.
And then just
let's get on.
Well, Qui-Gon walks kind of off and disappears, and then Obi-Wan just kind of treks away, and dun, 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 and it's over. And I was like, oh, that was awesome.
So cool.
Chills thinking about it right now. I just thought it was so sweet. And it was help me with the actor's name, because Liam Neeson. Yeah, I mean, it was him. And it was no de-aging things happening. They just threw him in costume, and he said like 5 words or something. I was like, nice. So I would like to see more of that, because I always liked Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, but we never got enough of it. It was gone pretty quick.
Yeah, poor Qui-Gon.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of them together. It was like as soon as Anakin showed up, they split up. Obi-Wan's back on the ship while he's in Tatooine with the speeders and stuff. So we didn't get to see a whole lot of back and forth with them. And then when they fought together, it was badass. And then obviously we know what happens then.
Yep.
That's why he's a Force ghost now. But I loved how they explained Force ghosts at the end of 3, Attack of the Clones, and then boom, or not Attack of the Clones, but Revenge of the Sith. Yoda, says, "I'll teach you how to commune with him."
Yes.
And then we get to see it.
Yes.
I remember speculating about that when that movie was out. So I'm like, ooh, what are they going to do there? I wonder how they commune with each other and so on and so forth. And it makes sense. They made it make sense. Like I feel like he had to find his path in life, and he knew his path, and he knew his powers. So there he goes. And he let go of the past. He found his path to the future now. And the whole thing with Anakin was now, dead and gone more or less. And he's ready to move on with the next part of his life.
Yep.
I loved it. I thought overall, man, I don't know. This is tough. So I'll ask you this question. You have to answer first, maybe.
Okay.
So, Mandalorian or Obi-Wan? What did it better first season?
That's not fair, because they're two totally different.
They're still Star Wars.
They're Star Wars, but they're two totally different stories.
Well, but there's
yeah. Obi-Wan ties the first 3 and the second 3
That's
together
true.
so nicely with a little bow.
Mhm.
Mandalorian was totally new material.
Yeah, this was technically new material as well, just filling in gaps. Mandalorian could technically fill in gaps between episodes 6 and 7 because it takes place after Jedi,
Okay. Yeah.
right? This
I
takes place
guess.
after Luke is dead and like, you know, the Ewoks have destroyed the old Death Star and all that good stuff. That's when
That's
Mandalorian
so
takes. Baby Yoda blew up the internet and killed everything in the
I
world when it
know.
comes to Star Wars, right?
He did.
Changed everything, really. He didn't really kill
Grogu.
anything. Yeah, Grogu, but Baby Yoda to everybody, obviously.
Mhm.
Um,
I'm gonna have to say Obi-Wan.
see, I think I would say Mandalorian because I did like this a lot where it connected everything, but to me now this just feels like great material to just keep watching. But I liked how Mandalorian was grittier. You know what I mean?
Mandalorian
Like,
was grittier.
I think story is winner big time.
Yes.
Obi-Wan, I think, has the better story.
Yes.
But I think the action and grittiness is Mandalorian, and that's just more my style. I love story overall of things.
I mean, I'm a very big action person.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess I just generally expect action in Star Wars because it's Star Wars. Like,
usually going to get that.
If you don't have action in Star Wars, it's not Star Wars to me.
Mm-hmm.
So story is a big thing. I love both shows. Like, honestly, if you were like, hey, do you want to watch Mandalorian? I'd be like, yeah. Or if you're like, you want to rewatch Obi-Wan, I'd be like, okay, let's go. Right. So it's hard for me to pick. And if you ask me in 2 months after I've rewatched Mandalorian, it'd probably be a different answer, honestly.
Well, and then I guess the question to ask is could you live without one or the other? Which one would you live without? I would live without Obi-Wan.
I mean, I could live without Obi-Wan. I've lived without Obi-Wan for my whole life until now.
Right. So my brain could fill in the gaps like it's done for the last 20 odd years I just mentioned. So I could live without Obi-Wan and know, oh, okay, this probably happened in between, fill in the blanks. But Mandalorian gives me something brand new to think about that, they throw in the universe, which is I like more.
The first opening scene in, Mandalorian, the dude gets chopped in half by a door. What more do you expect?
You can come with me warm or you can come with me cold, So, and he's just a badass. So, although I do think that season 2 went downhill, so I'm hoping for a season 3 better on Mandalorian, but the Obi-Wan, it couldn't have been any better as far as I'm concerned. I don't think it's a 10 out of 10. I guess it could be a little better in some aspects, but not a whole
give
lot.
It a solid 8.5 out of 10.
It's up there. I mean,
maybe even a 9.
I was leaning 9. Like if I had to give it a number out of 10, I'd probably lean toward a 9 and think like, you know what, there's a couple of points that could have been adjusted. Some of the staleness could have been taken out and, action put in its place or something more prominent with story-based kind of things. But the way they focused on Leia and they didn't focus on Luke because Luke's story of the movies and the way they gave the Vader and Obi-Wan a final ending and still showed you kind of a little bit more of what was going on during that, battle in their heads, where they're both still trying to get at each other.
Yeah.
Just well done. Superb.
Yeah,
Chef's kiss.
Yep.
Superb. So that is our take on the Obi-Wan limited series. We'll see if it comes back with season 2. I don't think it will.
We got to talk about at the end, you had young Obi-Wan, current Obi-Wan, and old Obi-Wan.
Well, that wasn't at the end. That was a meme we saw online.
Was it?
Yeah. The one where it said, hello there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess I thought it was. I loved it so much. I was like, it's in the show.
Yeah, because he says it to Grievous. Like he drops in and yells, Grievous turns around, he's like, well, hello there. And then that was in Revenge of the Sith. And then he drops in to obviously Luke in Obi-Wan series. And that's how he greets Luke is hello there. And then he shows him in A New Hope where he puts his hood down and he turns around and he says, hello there. Yeah. And they all set them together too in the meme they did. That was just like all overlapping each other. Hello there. Like, it was great. And I mean, I said it from the very beginning too, the mannerisms and the voice and the acting, Ewan McGregor, master.
Yes.
Master at it. Like he legit is a Jedi master.
He legit is Obi-Wan.
Yeah, of the acting of Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
He nailed it.
Yes.
So you could watch A New Hope and be like, is that the same guy?
Yeah.
Like, I really feel that way.
Did
I feel like
age?
kids would be like, oh, wow, how far apart are these movies? You'd be like 30 years, like, oh, you know, I mean, technically he's only 10, but
yeah,
still pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I think you can tell both of us really enjoyed it.
Yes.
And we'll see what next thing comes out we want to talk about, but no limited series is on the horizon I can think of.
August.
What is this?
House of Targaryen.
Oh yes, we probably will bring some Game of Thrones. Yes,
I'm about to dive back into that world.
Yeah, and Heather will talk more in that one.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're sick of hearing me, I will sit quietly and she can talk.
Yeah, we will probably do that one as our next limited series.
That sounds good. I'm down. You know me, I love Game of Thrones, so I was a Lannister guy though. I liked House Lannister. Tyrion's my boy. He's my boy. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Tyrion is pretty cool.
Yeah. All the rest are assholes, but Tyrion was my boy.
Yeah.
So I had to go House Lannister. Sorry. And I like lions. They're pretty cool. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, look forward to that. I'm good. I'm good with that. This one says we're doing it. So I'm good with it. We're going to do it. So we'll go from there on that. But anything Star Wars you guys want to chat about, want us to watch, want us to chat, want us to talk about? I don't know. Let us know. Maybe give us some tips. There's anything we should watch to help elaborate more of Obi-Wan that would enjoy Obi-Wan even further. Who knows?
Yeah.
Hit us up over at loudthumbs@gmail.com and obviously loudthumbs.com. Hit over there and just say hey to us. Follow us. We have all of our socials over there to check out and all of our stuff to watch or listen, whatever you partake in. But that is it for this Loud Thumbs Limited podcast. We will be back again with some Game of Thrones soon. Tune in for that. Until next time, everybody out there, stay safe. Have a good one.